Basslines is sponsored by Hug Your Money. Tired of market ups and downs? Want reliable income and worry-free returns? It's smooth sailing with your Hug Financial Coach. Hug Your Money. So unique, it's patented. And by West Sidewalk Trio, inspired by the Jerry Mulligan Chet Baker Quartet. Cool West Coast style jazz in a pianoless trio. Contact Dominic Posha, 413-585-8769. I'm Frances Rayam, and this is Basslines, a place where we make time to reminisce. We'll take you behind the scenes with celebrities and other important people, somebody special today we're going to talk about. So cozy up and put your cell phone to the side, and welcome into your hearts my friend, professional bassist, conductor, and instructor, Mr. Don Baldini. Welcome
Hello,
back,
Francis.
Don.
It's nice to be back.
Thanks. What's in the suitcase? No, wait, don't tell me yet. Don't tell me yet. Okay.
I brought a few little goodies. Well, first of all,
when I said somebody special today, let's talk about what this photo is, and we'll get a one up on the screen. For people.
Okay. So when
you can pick it up.
This is a photo that was taken at the White House. It's kind of a funny picture because it looks like I'm posing, and it looks like Frank and Nancy and Ronnie get in the way.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a funny picture.
This must be somewhere between 81 and 89. 8 years.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this piano, I don't know, you can't see very much, but you can see these kind of Roman goddesses. This is all inlaid in gold. This was built for Bess Truman by the Steinway Company, because Bess Truman was a pianist, an amateur singer, and Steinway built her this beautiful piano. Well, I don't know how often it gets played.
You know, if you're Bess Truman, you get Steinway build you a piano.
Yeah,
of course,
it's absolutely gorgeous. So this was at a state dinner for the president of Sri Lanka, because at the time, apparently Sri Lanka was a strategically important refueling stop. I don't know if it was for the, for the Air Force, for the jets that are looking to guard us against missiles or for whatever reason. And it was particularly interesting because I don't know if you all remember, but there was quite a brouhaha about Nancy Reagan spending a lot of money on special china that she bought for the White House. And we got to have dinner on that china, and it was pretty cool. But we got invited to do this literally a couple of weeks after I started playing with Sinatra. We were in New York, and we got invited to do this state dinner. And Julie Rizzo, who was kind of Frank's bodyguard, who had been with him for years and years, said, "I can't believe you've only been on the job for a week and a half, and you get invited to the White House. I've been here for 30 years. Anyway, I don't know if that's true or not, but anyway, he made it sound like it was a big deal. So
you were his new rabbit's foot. So
we did play at the White House. We got flown to Washington. We took commercial jets. Frank went in a different plane. We did go to the White House. My bass was in a trunk, a travel trunk. The dogs and the Secret Service spent a good hour with my bass. I had to take everything out. I had to take the case off. I had to take everything out of the pockets. The dogs sniffed the instrument, went all over everything.
Sure.
In the meantime, the woman, I think it was actually Nancy's secretary, was really nice and kept apologizing to me for all the trouble that my bass was causing. Because it was, we were literally going to play in the White House.
Yeah.
I don't know what the name of that room was where they had these little shows, but I remember seeing Obama in that same room and Clinton. And so when I was talking to the secretary, I said, well, I'm going to be forward. I said, I know there's some really valuable Windsor chair. I make Windsor chairs as a hobby. And I said, I know there's some very valuable old Windsor chairs at the White House. She said, absolutely. Would you like to see some of them? I said, I would. So while the dogs were still with the base, she took me around to all these different places. I don't know what the rooms were, but they were probably famous, rooms that were for guests or whatever.
Sweet.
And she would allow me to, I was underneath tables looking at things.
Really?
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Just the two of you?
Yeah, just the two of us.
Secret Service lurking?
Yes.
Yes.
So that particular night, we did rehearse because we wanted to see what the acoustics were going to be like.
Yeah.
And of course, that piano was wonderful.
Yeah.
And it was just was Joe Parnello on piano, Tony Mottola on guitar, myself on bass, and Irv Kotler on drums. Just the rhythm section.
Wow.
And Frank did about, I don't know, maybe half hour, 45 minutes.
Oh, man, I would have loved
that. Was pretty
that.
cool. Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Oh.
It was pretty cool.
It doesn't get any better than that. Right?
I had this little bird in my head that always would say, remember this.
Oh.
Remember this moment.
Yeah.
Because this is pretty special.
I'll say.
And, afterwards, there was a big reception, and there were all these service groups. They had a little jazz band. They had a string group. And I remember that Irv Kotler and Tony Mottola, the guitar player and the drummer, both were smokers. Even though they were both in their 70s, they were still smoking.
Yep.
And they had ducked out one of the doors to smoke a cigarette. And I remember the Secret Service guy came up to me, and you can tell because he's wearing a tux, but he's got on those cop shoes, and he came to me and he said, where are your two buddies? And I wanted to be a smart ass and say, well, isn't that your job?
You're the Secret
But I kept my
guy.
mouth shut.
Yeah.
And I said, who are you talking about? He said, the drummer and the guitar player. I said, I have no idea, but I said they're both smokers. Maybe they went out for a cigarette. And he said, well, come with me. We've got to find them.
Oh,
so I got another tour of the White House because he did, for some reason, although I mentioned that they were probably outside, he didn't think for some reason that they would be able to get outside. As it turns out, they were outside.
Really?
There were like these French doors, and they just probably
opened them and walked out.
Maybe they were supposed to be locked. I don't know. But so, we took about 10 or 15 minutes, and by the time we got back, they had already come back in.
Did they have any idea that they'd caused any of this fuss?
No.
Completely oblivious. Meanwhile, you've had two tours of the White House, one voluntary, one not so voluntary.
One to get to look at furniture, and the other one to just kind of look around. So it was kind of funny. So the other thing about Reagan was we played. Frank Sinatra was at that time the official entertainment director of the White House. And he had this special relationship with the Reagans. He didn't have to go through any security clearance, which, of course, considering some of the company he kept in his life is questionable.
Considering the little issue we talked about in the previous show.
So,
Wow.
I guess it was probably a year or so after this White House dinner that we were invited. Well, Frank, in fact, was in charge, so invited. We were expected to perform at the second inaugural.
Yes.
And, we were there for probably 10 days. And Frank got Nelson Riddle to be the conductor of the orchestra. And Nelson wrote all kinds of special music. And I remember, Lou Rawls was on the show. Frederica von Stade, the German opera singer from the Met, was on the show. It was amazing. It was besides the presidential gala, there was a vice presidential gala the night before. So we did both of them. And so the reason I brought this suitcase is because
here, let me help you.
Once in a while you get a little bit of a perk. So we were in fact,
I love that we're doing this. We're just opening your suitcase.
In fact, I had seen these jackets. In fact, I bought one myself, paid $50 for it, not realizing they were going to give us a jacket. But here's the jacket, the official 50th American Presidential Inaugural Gala 1985. It doesn't have Reagan's name on it, but it's got the presidential seal in gold thread. And I'm going to show you.
Oh boy.
Believe it or not, I should probably take this thing off. But okay, this jacket was given to all of us that performed, even though, like I said, I had purchased one. So I have another one at home. I didn't bring it today because it doesn't have my name on it. But the back has the presidential seal, and it still more or less fits me. It's probably a collector's item. I don't know what I would do with this. If any of you out there are interested in a Reagan inaugural jacket with my name on it.
Oh, be careful what you wish for.
I don't know. I don't even know what
Some
something like
collector
this.
will go nuts over
I mean,
this.
I almost think something like this should go in a museum because that's probably a curious,
let me take it for you.
curious item. While we're at it, every tour company, every Broadway show, every television show. I remember when I did St. Elsewhere, they gave us jackets.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened to it, but
I don't think they were this
everybody
nice,
did
though.
baseball jackets. So we had these touring jackets with Frank.
Beautifully done.
This said Sinatra in concert. It happens to be black and orange because those were his favorite colors. And again, there's my name on the front, and it says Sinatra staff. Kind of even forgot that I had some of this stuff. And then this was actually from the presidential inaugural gala. They also gave out these hats. It doesn't really match the jacket very well. And then this one is from the Academy Awards. 1 year.
Oh, that's great. 61st Annual Academy Awards.
Yeah, this is when Marvin Hamlish
What's the other one?
was the band leader. This is from the inaugural gala.
1985.
Yeah, that was Reagan.
That's right.
I had another jacket, but it's a members-only jacket. That was from the vice president's gala.
When we were off camera and we were talking about this photo, you said something about a Where's Waldo. Will you?
It's like Waldo's always showing up in these situations, and this kind of looks like the photographer was trying to take a picture of me, and these other people got in the way, you know. I had a friend that was a cartoonist that did these two little figures, not in this picture, but like, I don't know who those three people in the front are, but the guy in the back is Don Baldini, one hell of a bass player.
Yeah, that's
so
nice.
Anyway.
Is this the same bass that we're looking at?
Yes, it is.
So
it is.
Do you mind telling the story of this bass? Where you got it? If you don't want to share it, I understand, but
No.
You've had this bass for a long time.
I've had this bass forever. I went to Indiana University on a violin scholarship. I was a violinist. And because I was thinking of the future, I was working on a double degree. I had a degree in performance, which was basically worthless unless you got an orchestra job, which I did.
Yep.
But I also was working on a music ed degree. And I thought, since I played the violin, I could play the viola, that if I learned the cello and the bass, that I could perhaps get a degree in strings as opposed to just violin.
Sure.
So the dean at the time thought it was a good idea. In fact, because of me, they actually included that in their degree program.
Oh.
So I decided to take bass lessons first because I was interested in jazz. And one of my classmates, a girl from Chicago, her last name was Sklar, of all things, who's also a famous bass player, by the way, Lee Sklar. I don't remember what her first name was, but she had decided that music wasn't for her, and she had bought this bass in Chicago at a company called Kagan and Gaines. They were a big music company in Chicago, and she paid $300 for it, and she charged me the same amount, and for another $50, I got this giant trunk that was made by the Chicago Trunk Company, which was like a steamer trunk, but it's big enough
for this,
to hold a bass.
Yeah.
And I used that trunk when I was with Sinatra, somewhere in the late 60s or early 60s.
Now, you know the question I'm going to ask, because I already know the answer.
Because I graduated high school in 59.
Yeah.
So I started in Indiana probably in 1960. No, probably in 59. So I bought this from her in 1959.
Yep.
Because it was the fall. No, excuse me. Would have been the next year.
1960.
The first year I was a violinist.
1960.
Would have been 1960. So I've had this since 1960.
Yeah.
And have never, ever thought about selling it. No, I don't know the next question. What is the next question?
As soon as I ask you, you'll laugh and you'll know. How many times you changed the strings since 1960?
Okay. She's asking this question because she knows that I changed the strings when Nixon left the White House in 1974, I think that was.
Yeah.
And I put a set of Tomastic Spiracores, which has this red label.
Yeah.
And they've been so good, I have not changed them in all those years. I'm not really good with math, but
I still say that we should go
74, 84, 94, 2004.
almost 2024. We're 1 year away from 2024.
So what is that?
50 years.
50 years,
Yeah.
49 years.
Yeah.
I should call the Tomastic company. I've probably
Wow.
set some kind of a world record.
Well,
because
actually-
those strings have been on lots of records,
Yes.
lots of concerts.
Yes. And they still sound perfect.
They still sound perfect.
And they still play perfectly, right?
Right.
Yeah.
That's why I haven't changed them.
No, I seriously do wonder if that's some sort of world record.
It might be. It
I mean,
might
it'd be
be.
an interesting thing to know. Yeah.
I do have new strings, but every time I go to put them, well, as you know, typically today I play through an amplifier.
Right.
And so the strings are a little bit deader than they would be if they were new. In other words, they don't ring quite so
Right,
long.
right.
And that's desirable
That's a
when you're
good
playing
thing when
through
you're
an
playing through an amp.
amplifier because they're more controlled.
That's right.
Well, all right. So let's get back to Reagan. Let's get
Okay.
back.
I'm sorry to.
Let's get back to the inaugural gala for a
Yes,
second.
please. All this swag.
So,
Incredible.
so we were kind of the host. We were the host musicians. Of course, Nelson Riddle was hired to conduct the orchestra. He wrote some special material, which was incredible. He kind of ripped off the Ann Copeland Fanfare for the Common Man.
Oh, yeah.
And he wrote that kind of for the opening overture. And we did that. Nelson conducted for all the acts, including Lou Rawls, who didn't bring his own conductor.
Oh.
We rehearsed for I don't know how many days. The Gatlin brothers were there. I remember Donna Summer was there. Like I said, Frederica von Stade, who came in, and we actually accompanied her. I can't remember what she sang, but it was something more pop-oriented.
Really? Not opera?
She
Yeah.
didn't do opera.
Huh.
I remember she brought Ian Fraser with her, who I knew from Las Vegas, who was Anthony Newley's conductor, and it was fun to see him. So we get to the gala. Of course, it's a big deal. Frank is the host, and one of the things that was really interesting was Mikhail Baryshnikov was in town
Oh,
doing something,
boy.
and Frank found out about it, or Mikhail found out about us. And early on in his career, when he was with Martha Graham, he had done a famous improvisational, well, I should say, he choreographed
Beautiful.
a dance, a solo dance,
Yep.
with a lamp post and a trench coat
Yes.
to the music of Frank Sinatra.
Yes. Yeah.
And he was a young guy. I guess he
Yeah.
was like in his early 20s.
Oh,
So
He was
he
so
finds
gorgeous to
out that
watch.
we're doing, and so without any rehearsal, he shows up at the gala, and Frank tips off Tony Mottola and I and Joe, because we're the only ones that play, on One for My Baby. And here we are in the middle of the show, not rehearsed. Frank takes off the tie, sits on the side of the stage. I guessing it was probably Jack Daniels, although it was in a coffee cup, but sits on the side of the stage, lights up a cigarette, which I can't even imagine was permissible,
yeah. Right.
and suddenly a little pin spot comes on, and they put an old-fashioned lamppost on the stage, and here comes Baryshnikov up the steps, because it was a raised stage, almost like a boxing arena. And there he is with the trench coat, and he too has got the tux with the open collar, just like Frank. And we do, it's 2:45, there's no one in the place. And he starts dancing. And I remember saying to myself, remember this moment. This is pretty special. You've got, first of all, two giants of entertainment.
Oh my gosh,
Frank
yes.
Sinatra
Yeah.
with this definitive Harold Arlen song, which a lot of people have recorded, including Tony Bennett.
Oh, it's such
But
a
no
good
one
song.
ever did it like Frank.
No.
No one ever did it even close to Frank. And it's a song about unrequited love, a guy with a broken heart who's singing about his lost love. And here we are with Baryshnikov dancing and Frank singing. And it was like just this magical. And of course the audience was mesmerized. When the thing finished, I remember there was a good 3 or 4 seconds, which is a long time
Yes.
for no applause.
Dead silence.
And
Right.
then all of a sudden,
Yeah.
people started to clap, but it was really magical.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was amazing. It was just amazing.
Yeah.
You know, and to think that, you know, I was actually playing while he was dancing. It was just amazing.
You know it when you're in that magic moment, right? You know right then. Something is different about this.
Yeah.
It's the zone. At that one time, everything comes together. It's all seamless. It's all easy, and people feel it.
Well, and what Frank did, the drink and the cigarette,
Oh yeah,
completely
come on.
appropriate
Yeah.
for the song.
Yeah.
And, you know, here we were,
Yeah.
nobody's going to come and say, oh, Mr. Sinatra, you can't smoke on stage. I mean, it was just one of those magical moments that happens, you know, every now and then in show business.
I hear that song in my head right away.
You know,
Yeah.
but again,
One for my baby.
that song, no one will ever do it
One more
better
for
than
the
Frank
road.
Sinatra did it.
But he's just
He had a way,
he's just talking to you.
in fact, to this day,
Incredible.
one of my favorite songs is the Matt Dennis song, Angel Eyes.
Oh yes. Oh.
Angel Eyes.
Sure.
Da, da, da,
Oh, haunting
da.
melody, right?
But
Right.
Frank started it with, so drink up all of you people.
Yep.
Oh, which is the
Started
bridge.
with the bridge, right? That's
But
right. Yeah.
it's the perfect opening. I don't know why everybody doesn't start that song with,
I
so
don't know.
drink up all of you people.
Yeah.
Order anything you see. Have fun, you happy people. The drink and the laughs on me. Try and say
That's
that
right.
love's not around. I mean, it's
Yeah.
like, oh
no,
my
it,
God.
It should have been written that way actually, because that bridge is really like a verse. And
Well,
if you
speaking
sing it
of
like a verse,
verses,
there it is.
I've got this wonderful recording called Sinatra and Strings, which Don Costa, the beloved Don Costa, who wrote for all kinds of people, did the entire album. But they do Stardust. Da 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 da, twilight time, da 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 dee da 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 dee,
Yep.
da da dee da 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 da, da 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 dee da dee da da.
Right.
And that's all they do. They
That's
don't
it.
ever go da 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 da
Sometimes I
da da.
wonder.
They
Right,
never do
that, yeah.
the refrain.
Yeah.
They just do the verse, and it sounds complete.
That's all it needs.
Who
Yeah.
would have had the guts to do that?
I don't know, but that's clever. I mean, that's
It's extremely clever.
clever, clever.
I mean, he would do stuff like that. And he just had this kind of innate sense of, you know, he really didn't know anything about music. I mean,
Frank.
I think people think that a Frank Sinatra must have been able to play an instrument or studied music theory. And no, he did not. He had tremendous gut instincts.
Yeah, he had taste.
I will say, I think he worked very closely with his arrangers.
Yeah, I bet.
I think he had a really good idea. I guess we got off track
Of
here,
what he
but
want- that's okay.
I think he had a really good idea of what worked for him.
Yes.
Very versus various other people, but
Right.
he was spot on.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, he knew himself. Yep. And he did know what he could deliver, and he had backing, and he had He really had everything he needed for tools in his bag to
And
get that
he
done.
did not screw around.
Yeah.
He let the song.
Yeah, he sang it.
He had the same.
He sang it. He felt
You know,
it.
Carson had the ability to let the guests shine.
Mm-hmm.
Frank had the ability to let the song shine.
Yep.
He never played around. He didn't over vocalize. I mean,
Yeah.
if you listen to his version of most of these songs,
Yep.
they're pretty straightforward.
Yeah, he didn't deconstruct it. He wasn't busy trying to show you all the things he knows. He wasn't scatting like crazy.
No.
He kept the song. He was true to the song.
You know, another great artist, the Velvet Fog, Mel Torme. But Mel Torme wants to show you all the things he can do within the course of 132 bar. And
But
it
that's
gets-
his thing. That's
that
Mel
was
Torme's
his thing.
That's what people listen
But
to
it
Mel Torme
doesn't
for.
do the song justice
It's not that. It's
the
a
way-
different audience.
the way Frank did.
Yeah, it's a
And
different
Ella
audience.
had that simplicity.
Yes. Yep.
You know, yes, she could
Straightforward. She
scat,
could scat.
probably better than anybody. But Ella let the song alone.
Yeah.
She had the respect for the song.
Yeah. It's true.
And let's face it, you know, I really don't listen to music, pop music today. It just, you know, I used to talk about improvisation in my classes at the college by using the metaphor of the box of Crayolas that we all started with the 8 colors.
Yes.
And then eventually you worked up to, you know, you went to
64.
your friend's house
Yeah,
to,
whatever.
with the big box with the 64 colors.
Yeah.
We had the 64 colors, now we've gone back to the 8 colors.
Yeah.
Why would you want to do that? I don't understand it.
I don't have
mean,
the answer, but
Yeah.
it does beg the question: if a Frank Sinatra showed up today, what happens? And
What
without
would he
the
do?
without the big
What
production,
kind of music would he be doing?
and would people actually have a visceral response to it like they did? And I think they would. I mean, we see it when we're playing out, right? Or when one of your groups is playing out, and we're playing the kind of music we're talking about, and there's a full house of people who come up afterwards and say, "Boy, I just love this music."
I remember reading that Johnny Mercer
Yeah.
spent an entire year on the lyrics of Skylark.
Well,
I mean, when
boy,
you have people like
they're
Johnny
terrific
Mercer
lyrics, I mean.
and Irving Berlin and
Yeah.
Cole Porter
Yep.
and, you know, Richard Rodgers. I
Rodgers
mean,
and-
these
right.
people,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, Richard Rodgers, who wrote with Larry Hart
Yeah,
one way and wrote totally different with Oscar Hammerstein. And I mean,
yeah, he was completely versatile. He wrote in different voices.
do you know
But-
that Frank's first gold
different.
record
Yeah.
was Strangers in the Night?
Oh.
Do you know that Nancy, now, I'm 99% sure I'm correct in this, but if I'm wrong, somebody call in. But I believe Nancy had a gold record with Boots
Nancy Sinatra.
before
right.
Frank had a gold record with Strangers.
Oh, you know,
with
that's,
all the
that's quite
recordings that Frank
possible.
made, I don't think he ever had a gold record and he hated, because
Yeah.
he hated that Scooby-Dooby-Doo. I love Strangers in the Night. I think it's a
Yeah.
great song. But I'm just saying, you know, it's crazy
Yep.
when you think about it.
Well, I want to thank you for bringing all of this and for sharing all your stories with us, and I hope we can continue to do this.
Okay.
Thank you for watching Basslines, and please remember, you don't have to thank us or laugh at our jokes. Sit deep and come often. You're one of the folks. We'll be looking forward to our next visit with you right here on Basslines.
Basslines is sponsored by Hug Your Money. Need to make up for some lost time? You can retire well. Your Hug financial coach can show you how. Hug Your Money, so unique it's patented. And by Ask Me Now, a vocal group providing sophisticated music for your next event. Contact Francis at 413-885-8888 or visit askmenow.live.